Hey, welcome to the Karen Mitches podcast, and welcome Rae Gallimore.
Hello, how's it going?
Thanks for coming on.
How are you doing?
I'm very tired.
Yeah. We both have coffees out of camera that we are both drinking. So
I'm not usually like an evening coffee drinker, but I think I'm running on like a few days where I didn't sleep well enough. And then I went into my office today, which I don't know why that takes so much out of me, but it does.
It does. I have embraced that I'm a night coffee drinker.
Okay.
I was like kind of embarrassed that I enjoyed it, and I'm embarrassed that like I can fall asleep just fine with drinking coffee in the evening. So
nice.
Yeah, I love coffee.
Do you drink in the morning as well? Like,
yeah.
You just all day coffee.
Yeah, I think I've toned back. Like when I was in college, I drank a lot of coffee, and that was like my one joy in life was just drinking coffee. And then I dialed back, and then now that I feel like I'm busy again, that I make my drip in the morning, have like 2 cups, and then I usually get one out, and then maybe one in the evening.
Nice.
It's not that much. 4 cups is not that much.
So when you were in college, was that in Boston?
I did a couple years in Victoria, and then I went to Boston for 3 years, and then I was in New York for 2 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what was in Victoria? Was that Simon Fraser?
No, I went to Camosun College, actually. It was like a diploma program where I actually switched to viola quite late in my career. I'm a violist. Fun fact, I'm a musician.
Yeah, I should mention that. Before you got into comedy, you were a musician, and your main instrument is viola.
Viola, yes. And I was a violinist forever, and I was determined to become a violinist. And then when I graduated high school, I said, this is too hard. No, I didn't. I didn't say that. I love viola, actually. I do. And I switched to viola, and my teacher was teaching at this college in town, and I sort of just stayed on and studied there for a couple years. And then I went to the New England Conservatory in Boston, where I did my undergrad. And then I did my master's at Juilliard.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, can you explain to me like the vibe of like a high level classical music school?
Yeah, I think about this now as like I've been out of school for 5 years, and I think I've fully like recovered from it and like accepted how I was in school.
Yeah.
But I think.
Can I get you to put your mic a bit?
Yeah.
Thank you. I forgot to tell you that before we started.
Okay.
It just clips better if I see your face.
So I feel like now, looking back, because I was so angry in school, because I was like, why am I not like achieving anything? But I look back and I go, no, I was doing a lot, and I'm happy with what I achieved in those years or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think just how to describe it, a lot of intense people, ego, including myself. You go to school early, you leave late, you go to classes, you don't leave the building, drink lots of coffee, and I think you make friends, and then you sometimes just don't meet a lot of people in your school because they're all either in different friends groups or different genres, like jazz kids. We had I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, in Boston there was a contemporary improvisation department in my school, and I did not talk to any of those kids because we just did not have the same personality.
You managed to graduate without ever speaking to any of the improvisation people.
I mean, we talked, but we definitely didn't go to the same parties and stuff like that.
Just the vibe of music school, like
the vibe of music school. A lot of different personalities. Everyone trying to be somebody at 20, which is not possible.
Is that why you were angry? Because you were like wanting to be something right away?
Yeah, I think so. And I think especially I was like a big fish in a small pond when I lived in Victoria. And then you go to a school like NEC and everyone is amazing. Everyone is so amazing. They have so much accomplishments on their belt. Like, since they've been like 6, they've been performing, and like those people are like already having careers and touring and stuff. Like, and I was like, why is that not happening to me? I'm like, because I had a childhood and I was doing other things in my childhood, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So everyone's there for a different reason. And I think everyone's like, they're like moving out for the first time. So like learning how to like grow up and then be in your 20s, be an adult. So it was just a lot, I think. It was pretty intense.
Especially like being in a city. Well, I guess in Boston was like a far away from home for you, right? Like you went to another country.
Went to another country.
Across, you're from BC, and so you're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
That's a long flight home.
It is. And I think when I was like, when I was 20, I was like, I can do this. This is fine. I didn't even think anything of it. And then, I just moved, and I was like, okay, this is my new life. And again, now I really have reflected on it, and I go, that's actually a crazy thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, I had a couple more years out of high school before I did the move, and I can't imagine doing that at like 18 even. People are like, I moved to big city right out of college or right out of high school. Like, that's crazy.
I think almost like the ignorance of young people probably helps them. Like, I'm sure a lot of them, if they knew what it was going to be, wouldn't go. But then if you get there, maybe you sort of figure out how to stay.
Yeah, you figure it out. Like, and you find your people, you find your friends, and I'm still in contact with a lot of them. And
do you ever miss Boston?
I miss Boston, but I don't know if I miss Boston or I miss that time of my life where like things were just a little simpler, and like all that mattered was practicing viola and then getting a beer on Friday night. Like, because there wasn't, and then you made minimal money and you scraped by, and you found deals, and you became cheap and thrifty, and it was like kind of fun and thrilling. And now you look back and you're like, oh, I don't actually want to live that life, but you feel nostalgic for it a little bit. Yeah.
And then what was it? So you were still really young when you went to New York.
Yeah, I guess I went when I was like 23. And then I was there for a couple years, and then that was, I think, another culture shock of, again, a naive Rae was like, I'm fine. I've lived in the U.S. for 3 years already. I can do this. And then, it was crazy. There's so many people there, so many different types of people.
Yeah. But that had to be kind of like an ego trip that you're there attending Juilliard.
Oh, for sure. That was like my biggest personality in like my early 20s. I was like, this is my life. It's kind of cool. Wasn't practicing at all, but just hanging out in New York. Like my parents, crazy. If I was a parent, I'd be like, what? How is this real that my kid is there?
Yeah. I don't even know how I'd feel. I guess you'd be really proud, but also like very nervous.
And I love my parents because they never expressed that. They were always very supportive, and they never like, because
you're not mature enough to be where you are.
Like you can't be there. Like what? Like don't walk home at night. Constantly sending me like messages, being like, how are you? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Like they just kind of let me be, which I think I'm really appreciative of. And I think I'm also guilty of like being like, oh, my parents are not in the same city of me, so I don't have to talk to them, and I kind of like let them go. And now that I'm older, I'm like, no, wait, I need to keep this conversation going because like, I don't know, my parents are very important to me.
Yeah.
But I think it was nice to just kind of be my own self. And
are there other
explore.
Siblings in the family?
Yeah, I have an older sister. She's 2 years older than me, and she lives in Australia.
What's she doing down there?
She met an Australian in Vancouver, which is classic.
Oh my God, it's
classic.
where like Australian men go to get a wife.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. They meet a Canadian girl in Vancouver, and then either the Australian stays forever, or they go live in Australia.
I'm a sucker for a lot of accents, but for some reason, like I don't dig the Australian guy. And then I was living in Vancouver, and I was like, I really moved to the wrong city.
I fully agree with you, because I went and visited my sister, and I was just like, I kind of got sick of it. Like after I'm sorry. I love my Australian relatives, but I couldn't be there. Like the 3 weeks I was there, I was like, oh, I don't really actually think it's that as attractive as like, I don't know, the other accents.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, but like English, Irish, Scottish are all like, it's like a couple points up if you have that accent. And I know it's stupid, but it works on me. I'm just like, you're so cool. Let's be friends. And then Australian is sort of like,
yeah,
I don't know, like a random US state or something.
Maybe it depends on the part of Australia you're from. Maybe it's like the US where like I used to be made fun of all the time for my Canadian accent, and like Americans, like it was so obvious to me like what part of the US they were from.
Oh yeah,
meeting them. And so maybe it's like that. It's like you kind of like have different regions and you go, you know what, actually this is better than the other one.
Yeah. We need a like cross section of Australian men so we can find out where the hot ones are located.
What region?
Where do you guys keep your hottest ones?
Yeah. When I went, the Aussies men specifically were really into the mullet, and so that was like a big, like 3 years ago, the mullet was really big in Australia. God. So I went to like, just like walking around the cities and stuff. You'd see the bang in the front and the. It was crazy.
I'm not a fan. I'm also like, I think mustaches are back here.
I love mustaches.
I am not a fan. And I'm old enough that I remember like the first time they came back, like late 2010s.
Okay.
No, the first decade.
The indie boy?
Like 2008, 9, 10. Yeah. And I was like, and it was weird too because it was sort of being done ironically, and I was like, I feel like that helped me become an adult because I was like, I don't like young people anymore.
I think, the mullet. I don't know if I really feel about the mullet. I think some people pull it off, some people can't, and they should cut it off. But I love mustaches. That's like my thing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like mustaches. I don't know what it is, but again, I think it's like if you can pull it off, you look really good.
Yeah.
And then if you can't, I'm like, no, get rid of it.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a for everyone.
No.
Sort of a.
I have an opinion about my opinion about the worst facial hair, and I've said this I said this when me and Jason had the podcast. I despise goatees. I can't handle them. I think they're gross, not good.
Oh, okay.
Like the full, it's bad.
I feel like if they came back now, I might feel differently, but I was like a teen in the 90s. So like a lot of those crushes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
we
the
took that
Nickelback.
Shit seriously.
The Nickelback goatee. No, thank you.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you have a preferred facial hair?
Clean shaven.
Yeah. Nice.
My favorite hair is no hair.
No hair, no hair here, no hair here.
Or yeah, have some hair on the head.
Okay. Nice.
So, you were back I guess you moved to Toronto for the first time after New York.
Yes, when I graduated Juilliard, it was the first year of the pandemic, and when I left, it was like that crazy statistic of like 800 people dying a day in the city and on Manhattan. Like, I don't know if it was just Manhattan, but the statistic of New York City was like 800 people dying a day. And my parents were like, you need to come home. And I was like, but I have 2 months left of my visa. I want to stay here.
Yeah.
But I left and graduated in Victoria. We had an online grad ceremony.
Oh my God.
It was so depressing. We send in like a selfie.
No.
Yo-Yo Ma. Do you know Yo-Yo Ma?
Fuck yeah.
He was like our commencement speaker. And he had this like conversation with our president. And that was like the big thing that happened at our ceremony. So that was cool. But it was like, I was in my parents' living room watching it on a screen.
That's like really amazing. Like, I don't know a lot about classical music, but I feel like he's somebody people like me know because he's so famous.
He's so iconic. Another, do you know Itzhak Perlman?
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't know what they do. I just know that name.
He's a really famous violinist. Okay. And he also played on Sesame Street. So a lot of people know like a particular wave of classical musicians because they played on Sesame Street. Like the Yo-Yo Ma played on Sesame Street. What was the point of that? But Itzhak Perlman is a big Juilliard teacher, and so he would be like in the halls, and you'd be like, oh my god, it's Perlman. He's so cool.
That's amazing.
Oh, whoops.
So then, how did you end up in Toronto?
I'm hearing something in my.
Oh.
Hearing a click. I can't hear myself.
I think it's
Oh. Okay. Oh, I can hear myself again.
Okay. Sweet.
Okay. Is this good?
Good save.
Okay. I can hear myself. Great. Okay. I ended up in Toronto because the story goes is I was at Juilliard and I was in practice rooms. I was not practicing and I was on YouTube watching SNL videos and I was like, this seems really wrong. Why is this my reality? But I knew I had to finish, so I finished school. And the plan was to move right away, but then obviously pandemic happened. So my sort of plan was delayed a couple of years. Moved here and yeah, just a freelance because you can kind of do that here as a musician, not really knowing anybody. You kind of just meet everybody. It's a bigger city than, say, Vancouver or even Victoria. And I think even the pandemic, there was like a lot of like things still happening because it was a bigger city and you can kind of figure stuff out.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I think I also like the East Coast because, again, I love my family, but I always tell them Vancouver's too close. I feel like I can't be my own, like my true self and in Victoria and Vancouver. And so I wanted to come here just because it was a big city and I could do music and then I could also start comedy and try it out and be weird and not feel kind of like suffocated in the West Coast and too close to home sort of thing. Yeah.
I feel that. I think a lot of young people need to get away just to be themselves. I don't know why.
Yeah. And I think it's important that, like, you do that and then you go home. Like, I know like, the joke of Victoria is, like, it's all old people, so people retire there. Or you've never left. Like, you are like, I love Victoria. I'm never leaving the island. Or you've left. You go, okay, I've seen the world, but I don't like it. And you go home. Or you're like, you know what? I'm happy in this world. And yeah, it's a bit of a bubble, but it's a good bubble. Like if you're in the bubble, life's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, that's why I'm here. So I just trying to be my own person and yeah, I think it's working.
You seem happy.
Yeah.
Like I've seen you around a lot over the last couple years and you always seem like you're having a good time.
I think it goes in waves. I'm sure you do this with comedy too. Like some days you're like, wow, I'm so good at this. I'm like top of the world. Like everything's going well. And then you have that one set where you're like, I hate myself. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why did I put myself in this position?
Yeah.
And you doubt everything. I had that recently. Like maybe 2 weeks ago, I did a crazy night of like 3 mics. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to 3 open mics. And they all went really poorly.
Oh, shit.
All 3 of them went so bad.
Oh,
like,
shit.
you know, you go to one, you're like, okay, I'll go to the next one. It's going to be better. And you go to the next one. And yeah, by the third one, I was like, I'm going to quit comedy. Like, this sucks.
All of them bad.
Yeah, it was bad. But I also think that's never really happened. That was like a big, like, bad day. Big bad day.
Yeah. I've had it happen a lot where when I do 2 or 3 mics in a night, that one of them is bad. Like I kind of feel like maybe like I don't have the energy to do 2 mics in one night and I end up fucking up the second performance.
Yeah. I find my first one is always bad and then the second one is like much better.
Well, sometimes you get that because it's like the first one was almost like a warm-up for the second one.
Yeah, or there was like the 2 people that showed up to a show and you're like, okay, I'm going to entertain you. And then like the open mic is insane because everyone at 10 p.m. because everyone's kind of drunk and like just ready to laugh and stuff. So it just depends, I think.
Yeah, it's funny how sometimes like the best nights aren't so much about like my performance, but just like everyone was there. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think comedy's cool because, yeah, you can have these like horrible days where you doubt yourself so much, and then the next day you're like, okay, I'm doing it again. And you do exactly the same thing, and you do so well, and you're like, oh no, everything's fine. I just had a really bad day yesterday, and that's okay. Everyone has that, and like the more you do comedy, you realize that even like the people who you admire, your idols, have those days, because you go, oh wait, I thought they were like amazing and crush every time, and then you see them bomb and you're like, oh okay, cool. We're all in this together. Yeah.
Did you have any big comedy heroes like when you were growing up?
I mean, I think my late teen years was definitely Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. Those are my like Parks and Rec and 30 Rock and stuff. Like 30 Rock is like totally my humor, like just spot on, weird, sometimes like relatable, but then it gets like super weird and you're like, what is happening? And then I think I was a big musical theater kid, so oh my god, who were my heroes when I was a kid? I don't know.
Do you sing?
I do sing, yeah. Yeah, I don't really have chances to sing. That's, I think, my biggest... I don't have enough times to sing, and I think that's why I'm kind of shy about it, because I don't really do it often. But, yeah, a lot of musical theater heroes, and I don't know if it's, like, total... Like, a character that comes to mind is, I don't know, this wasn't a childhood thing, but I got really obsessed with the musical Annie.
I love it.
When I was, like, maybe 18 or 19... And
okay, so like later, like, you're like
late, like yeah, like late in life, and specifically, I think the original Broadway cast recording.
Oh, and okay,
yeah, Miss Hannigan has this insane
Did you
song.
Get into Annie through Jay-Z?
Wait, what?
Did you get into Annie through Jay-Z?
It's hard. That's funny. No, actually, I think it was Annie then Jay-Z for me.
Okay.
That's funny. Yeah, just like, I don't know, the character of Miss Hannigan really struck, like, she has a cool, funny song in there.
Is she Annie's teacher?
She's like the mean orphanage lady that is like very strict.
Okay. And is she the villain?
She's the villain. Yeah. Oh, and actually, speaking of musical theater stuff, is I think my first musical that I've ever really remember watching was The Little Mermaid, like the Disney version. And the story, I'm saying this a lot, the story goes, is I went to the theater with my family and we watched The Little Mermaid and the like chef scene, you know, and he sings like, les poissons, how I love les poissons. Do you know the song?
I can't remember this.
It's essentially Sebastian, the crab, gets stuck in the kitchen, and it's the chef, and he's like trying to catch Sebastian because he's trying to cook him for the dinner. And apparently, I was just cackling in the theater as a kid at that one scene. So I think about that often. So just I think the funny characters or like sort of dramatized characters in musical theater really stuck with me. And then just. Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. I'm a bad comedian and musician because I don't know people's names. This is my goal for myself. This is like a personal goal that I need to get better at being able to answer this question of like, who are your heroes? And I go, I know all these people. I've seen their specials, but I just don't remember their names.
The thing is, I don't really care that much about like I kind of find the comedy world of like talking a lot about other comedians bugs me. I do like to know like just kind of like what people were up to or like the general flavor of like what kind of comedy they like or their influences. Sometimes people are just like too specific and then give me like and then they're like, you have to go check these people out, and I'm like, but I won't.
Yeah, male comedians will do that. yeah
And I feel like this is like I feel like there was a time in my life when like I listened to so many comedians all the time. It was my lifeline. It was so important to me. And now that I'm like writing my own comedy, I want to be kind of like away from other people's comedy.
Yeah.
Like, although I do really like seeing other people at mics, like people at my level and people that I know.
Do you think you become a worse comic if you go to too many open mics?
I think no.
I have a hard time sometimes if like my whole week is just open mics and I never see someone like kill at like a performance or whatever, because sometimes it's just like really sad to see.
I also think I've become desensitized because I'm around so much really offensive comedy that now I'm not offended by things. So then it's like, I don't like if you're around food all the time and you have, I mean, this is not a good analogy. What I'm saying is like, does it help my future audience if I become desensitized to the offensive, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Because I think when I first started, I was pretty offended by things. And now I just brush it off. And I have to remind myself sometimes, too, when I'm around non-comedians to be less annoying and not like mean, but like bits. You know, like I hate when people just talk in bits. But sometimes that's all you do when you're around comedians.
Yeah.
But I have to remind myself to like not do that around my family, for example, or my sister or other friends that are not comedians. But I don't know. I think about that sometimes. Like, I should just go to shows. Like I need to go watch actual shows sometimes and like see, oh, this is your best stuff. Like,
yeah. Well, even like with other comedians, like I just went and watched Chelsea Brewer because she was doing like a long set, like and it's like she was on my show so like not that long ago, so I'd seen her do like 8 minutes, but a lot of the time most of the time when I see her, she's doing like 3 minutes new or 5 minutes rough, and you know, so you forget like how good people are until you see them like performing. And then I got to see her perform like a lot of stuff, and like that's like, it's like a pretty big deal to like to get to that like headlining spot.
And I'm actually very surprised. I mean, I think it took me a while to like figure it out. Like I think the first couple of years I just was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I like this, I'm going to keep doing it. And I think this last year especially, I was like, oh, I get it. I get what this is. I figured it out. I figured out my voice in some sense, right? Obviously. Yeah. It's still going to change, but I don't know. I lost my train of thought. But yes, I agree. I think it's important, especially seeing your friends.
Yeah.
You're seeing your friends who you see all the time do their best stuff once in a while in a room that wants to hear it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they try to do their best stuff and there's like 3 people there at the open mic. It's 11:30 p.m. And you're like, I want to go home. But yeah. I don't know.
Do you have a favorite mic in the city?
I run one. It's pretty awesome. I don't know if it's my favorite one, but it's pretty fun.
And that's Mondays.
Mondays at 6 p.m. at Tammy's Wine Bar. It's an online sign up, which is very efficient, so you can plan your...
Is it just you running this one?
Yeah.
Because in the past you hosted with Jason.
Yeah.
But...
not anymore. He's busy with his real job. Shout out Jason Bradley.
Real job, gross.
Yeah, so I run one on Mondays at 6 p.m. And then I would say my other favorite mic is, I love the Lab, honestly. I love the Lab. I've always loved the Lab. I think I've had my best sets at the open mic, specifically at the Lab. And I really liked Gatherings on Sundays. Mark used to run it.
Yeah.
I missed that show.
It wasn't my favorite mic, but it was it was like really important to my week because I would do stuff I'd just written or stuff I was like fishing out, like old stuff I hadn't done in a while on Sundays at the Gathering mic because it was so friendly.
Yeah.
and if I fucked it up, I didn't feel as bad, and then I get kind of good with it for like later stuff.
Yeah.
We need a new low stakes Sunday friendly mic.
Yeah. Someone that's willing to deal with 45 comedians in one night.
Yeah. And there's something like, I think people feel rough on Sunday night. So it's like you need someone like Mark Hallworth to run a mic. Somebody who's having a good time and like lifting people up. Most people aren't cut out for the Sunday mic.
I tried to run a like never ending mic and I was like, I hate this. I can't do this. When me and Jason originally started our mic at Steadfast Brewery.
Oh yeah.
It was like a never ending mic. And
that was crazy.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to do this.
I think because it was like, it fit well in the schedule with the other Thursday mics. So everybody if you were out on a Thursday, you hit that mic up. Yeah. So how many people would you get?
I mean, it was like 12 to 30. So it depended on the day. But yeah, we definitely had like 30 people sign up. And then it was like other mics where like people would come up and sign up and then they just wouldn't show up or something. So like it wasn't actually 30 people, but
yeah,
we had 30 people on the list. But yep, I'm too old for that now. I'm retired. My other favorite mic I actually realized this is my favorite mic is I love the Bucket Show. Tim Blair's 11:30 p.m. mic at Comedy Bar.
Tuesdays at Comedy Bar.
Yeah, and I know that people are mad at me because I'm a variety act, and so I think statistically I get up more than usual.
Yeah, because they have 2 buckets. Yeah, and they draw equally out of each one.
No, just one. It's like 2 stand up and then 1 variety, and then women get pink slips. So it's like I get a double.
Pink slip and variety.
Yeah, so I think I get a little bit of. Statistically, I go up more, I think, to people.
Yeah,
so
and a lot of people, though, fake being a variety act.
Yeah. One time, I don't know who this was, but I was going to go up, and I was, like, waiting backstage, and then the guy behind me, I was just, like, a regular comic that day, and then, I was a regular comic, and then the guy behind me was the variety act, and I was like, oh, what's your variety? And then he said, I'm going to go bomb. That's my variety. And I was like, that's not a variety. Like, his whole idea was, I'm going to do such bad jokes that I'm going to bomb. I'm like,
that's not variety.
That's not variety. It's just being a bad comic. I don't remember who that was. I have no facial recognition. But I was like, that's cheap.
I do really like that one. I think it's because they get 2 hosts at a time. So you get the host talking back and forth. Yeah. Have you hosted it?
I have, yeah.
Who did you host with?
I hosted with Kaya Luna.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Almost 2 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've asked him. Like, you just have to ask Tim, and if you have someone you want to host with, like, he'll put you on. Because a lot of people just repeat. Like, if he doesn't have anybody, he usually throws the same people on. So, yeah, if you're interested.
Do you want to host with me?
I'll host with you.
I would love that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Amazing. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think that one is very, like, people are awake for it, and the audience is really fun.
Yeah, we had I think there was 10, last night, I went on and did some sketch stuff with Rosie. It was really fun.
Nice.
And,
does Rosie still work on boats?
No. I think she works there, actually.
Because I see her so inconsistently. I'm like, is that because she's always leaving to work on a boat?
No, she's taking a break from comedy. So she's an actor. So she's doing that. But I think I don't know. But I think her dad sold the boat. So I don't think she works on the boat anymore. But she spent a lot of her childhood and early years working on a boat. Yeah, which is cool. But yeah, we were there and there was like 10 people in the front from like film school or something, and they were all like 19, 20, really young, and we tried to make like millennial jokes.
Oh no.
And they were like they didn't recognize Wonderwall. And I was like, oh no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know what young people's reference points are.
Like, what's a cheesy song from like, I guess this generation that would be as iconic as Wonderwall that you would like learn on the guitar to impress somebody?
I don't know, man. I get confused about like when you say this generation, like I don't know how to define it. Like, you know how you can get, like I can think of like this was the 70s, 80s, 90s, but like as you get farther along, I'm like I don't know what it is.
I think millennials were the last generation to know life with no phones and like screens, I think.
Yeah.
So I think our way of life is a little bit and then like fashion, I think was like I think of like 2000s 2010 fashion, like that's millennial fashion. In like if you like so dressed like, up as a millennial, you would dress up in like skinny jeans and like a blazer with like this insane necklace, and then your hair would be like the bump, you know. That's what I imagine.
Yeah. What's right, and then Gen Z is like baggy,
like Billie Eilish, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah. But I don't know.
What is the music of Gen Z characterized by?
I don't know. Because I think like Billie Eilish, Sabrina Carpenter, like maybe Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift's so confusing because she's been around.
I know.
She's had so many eras.
Because I teach kids music, and I tried to make them play a Taylor Swift song, and they were like, no, thank you. So like the 10-year-olds do not want to play Taylor Swift.
Interesting.
But I'm thinking maybe it's because it's like the bad music their parents play.
Yeah.
Because probably they're like older millennials. Because I would say the parents are probably like 40, 45.
I'd be
maybe?
like an elder millennial. And I feel like, yeah, my friends who have kids would be
like, oh, let's listen to this great song from my childhood. Like, what do you play? Do you play Taylor Swift? Do you play, like, I don't know, Metallica? Like, what era? What type of music do you play for your kid?
I don't know.
I don't have a kid.
I remember when my sister had her first baby, her husband got this like lullaby version of Appetite for Destruction. She's like a Guns N' Roses album.
I've seen that. Not necessarily that one, but I've seen like lullaby versions of like
pop, famous
rock
albums.
and roll songs.
It was like a big trend.
Yeah, or Kid Bop is really big, where they take out they have the same song. Like one of my favorite songs of all time is called "This Stay" by Kid Laroi and Justin Bieber. Do you know the song?
No.
Okay, it came out in the pandemic and it's iconic. Anyways, but there's a Kid Bop version, and they take all the bad words out.
Yeah.
But it sounds, so you kind of like know the song, like you can follow along. But like the words are really horrible. Like not horrible, but not kid friendly at all. So they've changed essentially everything. And it's just like, why do that? Like, why don't you just make another song and a kid can sing and be like, this is the song.
Do they have them singing in like kid voices?
Yeah, and it's like a whole industry, and they'll be like kids dressed up as rock stars singing like Kid Bop version. It's really weird.
Who's the market? I guess children?
I think like
children whose
preteen, but like maybe even before preteen.
I remember, like, we had a group when I was a kid called the Mini Pops, and I remember my friend had a Mini Pops album, and I was a child, but I remember being like, this is stupid. Like, we can just, like, I literally think there was, like, a Michael Jackson song on it, and I was like, why won't we just listen to Michael Jackson? Like, I don't want to hear children sing his song.
I don't think there was, like, I don't have a transitional period. Like, I used to listen to, like, Charlotte Diamond, Raffi, Fred Penner, was it Sharon, Lois, and Bram? Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like Britney Spears, Spice Girls. Like there was no transition.
Yeah. I don't think there should be. You're a baby and then you listen to adult music.
Yeah. And I don't need, like, my dad likes music, but he didn't like be like, this is icon. Like, he just has a bunch of records and then he would play something. But I didn't really, I don't know. Speaking of musical theaters, I used to listen to the Sound of Music soundtrack. That was my top played CD as a kid.
I love that. I had a friend who was musical theater, and she would play albums for me. Like, I've never seen Hair, the musical, but like I've heard the whole CD like 100,000 times. And she'd play like, we'd be teenagers, we'd be like smoking, but she would have like the Little Mermaid soundtrack on. And she was really good at singing and doing voices. So sometimes like I just have her doing like Sebastian for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't have real internet or cable growing up, which I think really defined me.
Were you in a remote town or?
Yeah, I lived in a municipality called the Highlands, which is like a 30-minute drive from downtown Victoria. And even with like we couldn't get cable with bunny ears for where I was. Like couldn't get like channel 2 where I was. But we listened to the radio all the time. I listened to the radio every morning. That was something. And no transit.
Oh, fuck.
So I had to learn how to drive like instantly. Well water. And I remember going to the library.
Like you didn't have to fetch it from the well.
No, it was like a real house.
It was just attached to the well. Okay.
But we had a big backyard, and then our property was like one side. It was like part of a mountain, essentially, like a hill that like was a park, like a provincial park that you could go hike. Amazing. But like we could get there through our backyard.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Yeah, and a lot of the properties in this particular municipality all kind of just like line the provincial park.
Yeah.
Because one of the main characters of the municipality, he like made it his mission to save this particular part of Victoria as like no commercial, like lots of parks, like we're dedicated to saving space for hiking and whatever. And it's really funny because like the municipality over is like, I would compare it to like Oshawa, whereas like building everywhere, like suburbs, like lots of random condo things going up, or like like Etobicoke or something, like there's no green space. Like
they just went wild.
Just bulldozed everything. And so it's so obvious where the municipality ends. Like there's like sort of like a barren space, and then all of a sudden there's trees. It's really weird. And like over time it's crept up closer and closer to that border. And so like when I was growing up, I took the school bus, and we'd take the school bus into town, and this huge development started. And so throughout the years, eventually like the development got closer and closer to the road, and like more trees come down, and it's totally different than when I was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
It's like unrecognizable. It's weird.
Are your parents like very nature people, or?
Yeah, they are. My dad works for the Ministry of Forest. So he's a forester, I guess, by trade. And he goes on hikes with his friends and stuff in the woods and stuff, and camping and whatever.
Nice.
But we were definitely like city people living there. Like they're not really as I'll say like crunchy granola as some people that lived and we were friends with and stuff. But yeah, they live in town now, so I don't actually, when I go visit them, I don't go out there. I'm like downtown, which is great.
Do you do any camping nowadays?
Usually when I go home, I'll go because my parents have all the equipment because I don't have any myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you haven't been to like Algonquin Park? Or?
I have. I have a hiking friend here, and we had plans to hike the North Coast Trail, which is like the tip of Vancouver Island. But then it fell through and we didn't do it. But we're going to go camping, I think, again in July or something.
Nice.
But yeah, I went to Algonquin. It was nice. It's beautiful. Yeah. Do you go camping?
Yeah, I wasn't outdoorsy at all. I lived in Vancouver in my late 20s, and that kind of got me, just because I was there, so I was like, I guess I should go outside. But it's so nice out there. I feel like it's easy to get into it.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, I was more like, okay, like I want to go for a hike. And then when my sister met her husband, he's like a camping kind of guy, and so she got really into it, and then I started going camping with them. So now I'm like It's weird that I didn't like it before, but I just was like I went camping as a teenager because it was a drinking occasion.
Oh yeah.
And like something with my friends, but I always just thought like, you know, like we don't have our own house, so we have to go out in the woods. Yeah. But like I thought like once I got a house, I'm never doing this again.
I think that's a especially in Vancouver Island, I think that's a big reason why young people camp. Yeah, you get away from your family and you can drink in the woods. I didn't do that, I promise.
I feel like it's also a big thing. Is it just young people everywhere, like just like drinking in fields, drinking in the woods?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just like you're not 19 yet, so you can't like, and a lot of people still live at home or whatever. Yeah. So I think there's like no spaces for that. I never did. I didn't really drink in high school. Randomly would be like once in a while, but I remember the like popular kids would go to like the bush and they would just like drive in some random fire road and like set up camp. I was like, that's crazy. Like, but I bet you it was like their older siblings that told them about it or something. Yeah, it was like passed down or something. The spot that like you go. Yeah, because I can't imagine just like the people that did that. I can't imagine them just like stumbling upon it.
Yeah, like they were out on one of their many hikes.
Yeah, like I don't think so. But yeah.
So can we talk about your album recording?
Yeah, sure. I thought it would be a good idea to create a timestamp, I guess, in my comedy career. 3 years in, and side note, I want to get new glasses, so I feel like I want to like timestamp my glasses, which are pretty iconic.
That you're in an era that includes the comedy you're writing right now, these glasses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm getting kind of not bored of my jokes, but I feel like I'm shifting away from like sort of the one-liner stuff that I have been doing. So I thought it'd be a cool idea to do like a self-created album recording and do like my best 20-25 minutes. And June 18th at the Brockton Haunt is what has been decided. I'm doing a 7 p.m. show and I'm doing a 9 p.m. show. And I think I'll get a good recording. Do it twice and then put it on YouTube and I don't know. We'll see. The internet might take it somewhere. I don't know. I feel like one of the best advice I actually got was, I've only met her a couple times, but Rebecca Reeds. Do you know her?
No.
She told me once, she was like, as soon as you can or you feel comfortable, like put out an EP or put out something that could start making you like passive income essentially. Like put it on Spotify, like maybe it's $10 a month, but like the more that you do it, like, you can send it to people, you can start promoting your own self. And I was like, that's a really great idea. So I kind of like thought about that for a while, and I feel like I'm at a point where I go, you know what, I think I could actually create something that I'm proud of and I like and I think is funny, that like is a very big timestamp in my life. Yeah. And then kind of like be like, okay, awesome, and I'm gonna move on and like just sort of start fresh. And because I think a lot of comics wait till like year 8 or year 10.
I think what happens is though, they end up like some of their stuff just never gets recorded, so they don't have, or they have probably like old crappy videos of it, but you don't have like a high quality recording of where you were at that time. Yeah. And I get it that people want to get like, well, I'm going to be better in the future and I'll be a pro, but it's like you should do an more amateur EP just to have that there.
Yeah. And I think I'll hate it in a year. I know. I'll like listen to you like, oh, I can't believe, but it's like, well, I don't know. It's cool. Like,
and there's lots of people in the scene where like I've listened to their like EP or something that was done when they were quite new, and I like it, and I'm like, this is very, very cool that you have this. And I get that they probably are like, I don't want to hear that again, because they're not, you can tell they're not doing the same jokes anymore. Yeah. But it's like, it's good that they they have that moment in time.
Yeah.
And if you're going to move on from the material anyway, like,
it's nice to just, like do it, record it, and go, okay, awesome. I'm not going to get nominated for a Juno for this, but
but it could build you some fans. It could, like, and one fairly newer comic told me she was on like a compilation album, so she only had 2 tracks on it, but she made money off of them.
Yeah, so that's awesome. I also think, I hope to eventually sort of transition to, like, I make all of my money through music, but like if I can transition to some of it being comedy as well, like that would be awesome. So that's kind of like my, financially it'd be kind of maybe a like step towards that. I'm getting extra $10 a month in streaming or whatever, and then just to promote myself, I guess. But yeah, I'm really excited for it. I
think it's gonna be amazing. I bought tickets to the later one.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you. I saw that. I have Darren Leo hosting. He's really awesome.
That's amazing. Can we talk about, like, he was just on Canada?
Yeah, Canada's Got Talent. He's a finalist. So awesome. Such a nice person.
And he fucking opened for Catherine Ryan. Yeah. Who's like legitimately, like, she's like my top 3.
Oh,
for,
yeah.
Like, people making comedy right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's crazy. And so he is hosting.
Yeah, he's hosting. He was definitely one of the first comics that was like inviting me to do shows and stuff, like free shows. So I was like, oh, that's like a perfect choice. And I want to say I asked him before Canada's Got Talent.
You already knew he was amazing.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have you as my host. That's so crazy. So I'm really excited for that. And then, I have Rosie as middle. Rosie TJ. She's awesome. Yeah, she's really my roommate. Good. She's cool.
I didn't know you guys lived together. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a recent thing.
Okay.
But, she's real awesome. But she's kind of stepped away from comedy, focused on acting right now. But I was like, would you want to do this? And she was like, absolutely. So another, like, huge person that has been, like, a huge sort of supporter and fan of me. So I was like, I want you on my show, like, because she's also hilarious. And we grew up 40-minute drive from each other, and we didn't know each other until like a couple years ago.
Oh fuck.
So we're like very similar, and because I think we grew up in the same environment. So,
so there's like a West Coast vibe, but then is there like another sort of like Vancouver Island vibe?
Yes. And I don't know how to describe it, but it exists.
Yeah, what would you say is like definitional to like people from that area?
I think we're pretty laid back, but I have a hard time talking about this because I feel like I don't fit the stereotype in many ways, but I do in other ways. Like, I don't know, if you think about fashion and like beauty aesthetic and stuff like that, like I think people are pretty like naturally, like they're not really into Botox and filler and blah 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 stuff like that. Just sort of like live with the land. Let the salty air, cleanse their skin. Stuff like that.
For sure.
So that I think is one, and like I don't know how to describe it, but I find that people who are happy on Vancouver Island, if they come to the city, they get so overwhelmed. Like they don't know how to deal with the city. Yeah. And it's just like, that's okay. Like, whatever. I was like that, when I went to the city the first time, like it was like, oh my God, but I loved it. I was like, I love this. So I think, you're just happy. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I don't know. I need to figure this out because I think it would be, number one, a funny joke. I can figure out a joke. But maybe like thrift store aesthetic. Yeah.
I dated someone who was from Souk Lookout. And I'm trying to
Deep
think.
cut.
Because by the time I met him, he would have been in Vancouver for like 10 years. Yeah. But he was like, that guy spent so much money at Mountain Equipment Co-op. And he lived on like Davie Street, but he had like a crossbow in his closet.
Yeah, I think it's just like you can either find like a very, very left-wing liberal amount of equipment, and then you can find a really right-wing amount of equipment. But they all shop at Mountain Equipment.
Yes, yes.
And you don't know which is which because we all like look the same.
Yeah.
All wearing Blundstones. That's a big iconic thing of the West Coast is everyone wears Blundstones. And I would like to point out, when I first moved to Boston, I was one of the only people that had them. And now everyone on the East Coast wears Blundstones. Yeah. Trendsetter.
Is Boston weather...
It's like here.
Is it rainy, though?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's cold. It'll get cold in the winter and snow. Yeah, minus 30. And really hot in the summer. Yeah. But then, yeah, I guess it's still coastal, so it's still nice. Like, it's not totally horrible. Yeah.
How did you find your first, like, summer and winter in Toronto? Well, I guess you'd already done New York, so it would have been very similar.
Yeah, it was fine. I think my first landlady, she gave me advice, and she was like, don't wear your winter coat until you absolutely have to. And I was like, okay. And then it's totally true. Like, the longer you wait, the more you, like, actually appreciate it. Or you, like, you kind of, like, acclimatize to the cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the first winter I was here, it snowed a lot. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm in for it. And then the last two winters, it didn't snow.
Yeah.
And it was fine. And then this winter was miserable.
Yeah.
It sucked. Yeah.
And everyone had to keep reminding themselves, like, this is just winter. This is just winter, but we didn't.
Yeah. Like right now.
I think 2003 was crazy. Like, I didn't know what time of year it was. And then I just got mentally confused because we were having this, like, fake winter, non-winter.
Yeah. I don't know. Right now, this is like BC winter. What we're dealing with right now.
In May.
In May. This is like BC winter. For sure.
Yeah.
And I don't miss it. I hate it. I hate rain. I think that's also why I don't want to live in Vancouver, is I don't like rain.
Yeah.
I'd rather it, like, really cold and really hot.
Yeah, there's a lot of middle, and even like the summers aren't super hot.
They can be here
in Vancouver.
No,
BC?
in Vancouver, no. It will like max 25.
Yeah, and it's always pleasant, which I was like, I thought I would like that, but I was like, no, I want to like lay by the pool and be hot.
But you're never hot. You go, I'm actually a little bit cold. It's sunny. Why am I not? Like boiling.
It's a great town if you want to like wear a sweater all year.
Yeah.
And you get to wear cool winter coats, because here you have to like get these like parka type things, but there you can have like your pea coat and, like, your
totally layer, like, look cool.
And they'll have like whole stores that just sell umbrellas.
There is one in Victoria. Have you been?
I haven't been to Victoria since I was a kid.
Okay, it's called I think it's Fantan Alley. It's just like this iconic Chinatown alley that has like a lot of historic background, and then it also like sort of these cool market stores that are within the alley, and one of them is an umbrella store, and they have like hundreds of different types of umbrellas. But it's a tourist store, I guess, but they're cool.
I love it. Okay, so wrapping up, let's remind people, when is your album?
My album recording is June 18th. There's a 7 p.m. show, a 9 p.m. show, and then there's an after party after.
Yes.
So if you come to the 9 p.m. show, you're there for the night, I guess.
Ready to party.
You're ready to party. It's at the Brockton Haunt, which is College and Dufferin. So West Side.
We can get tickets on Eventbrite.
Tickets on Eventbrite, and I guess you can just go on Eventbrite or on my Instagram. I have it linked. Rae.Gallimore Instagram. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks for having me, Karen. This
Thanks
was fun.
Thanks for coming on, Rae.